Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Boa Bay, and I'm a Technical Assistance Administrator at Business Impact Northwest. Business Impact Northwest is a nonprofit economic development organization and community lender dedicated to serving underbanked entrepreneurs. We provide coaching classes and access to capital to community small businesses with an emphasis on working with traditionally underserved populations. Today's Business Expert Session is our second Celebrating Dreams webinar, leading up to our annual Celebrating Dreams event. Celebrating Dreams is an opportunity to connect with other female entrepreneurs, mentors, community partners, resources, and leaders to celebrate female entrepreneurship. This year's Celebrating Dreams will be held at the Metropolis in Seattle on May 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. Tickets are $20. I'll include the link to the event page and ticket information, in my follow-up email this afternoon. Today, we are joined by Shannon Borg, who is here to discuss the topic, self-care for women in business. Shannon is an artist, writer, and certified life coach who helps artists and other creative entrepreneurs master their business and transform their mindset so they can confidently share their gifts with the world and create sustainable businesses. Joining us as moderator, is our Washington Women's Business Center coach and trainer, Miriam Works. And sorry, I said moderator. Miriam's here to assist us with the Q&A. So thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. And Shannon, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Bo. I'm really excited to be here. I have not done a webinar through this organization before, so I just love the idea that we are bringing women business owners and entrepreneurs together and really focusing on not just the business side, but what drives the business side, which is our full self. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And thank you for this opportunity and thank you for the support. It's been incredible. So I'll start with just saying I'm Shannon Borg. I'm an artist and art and business coach. And today I'm going to talk about self-care for women business owners, and hopefully in a unique way that will give you some ideas to take back to your business as well. Because as we know, it's a kind of a holistic view where we want our businesses and our lives to be really intertwined. And I hope that some of these ideas will help you find ways to do that today. So today I'm going to connect you with the 4 elements. I'm going to offer 3 steps that we can take in this process. I will offer you 2 tools to use and we'll kind of practice those. And then 1 final thought that hopefully can help you in your business and your life. First, I'll start with a short intro about me so you know who is on the other side of the nerd box. I'm Shannon Borg. I'm an artist, art and business coach. I'm a writer. I'm a Squarespace website designer and a podcaster just this year. So that's a new thing. It's been really fun. It's taken me a long and winding and painful road to get to where I am in my business. And I'm sure you can relate to this as business owners. So that's why I kind of want to tell you a little bit about my background. I live in Friday Harbor, but for many years I lived in Seattle from my brother lived there in the 70s, then the 80s, I lived there in the 90s. So it's just all there. I wrote about wine and food for Seattle Magazine, and I've written a couple of books in the wine and food world. Then I fully changed my life and moved to the San Juan Islands, worked here at Doe Bay Resort and for the San Juan Islands Visitors Bureau. Then I started making art and I saved my pennies, quit my job, and followed that long-held dream of going back to art school. I studied at Gage Academy for 2 years and then started helping friends with writing and websites and things that I had done in my professional life. And like I said, the reason I'm telling you this is that we all, many people have this circuitous path towards our dreams. And of course, we're not there yet. We sometimes have that attitude of I'm always reaching, but I'm not there yet. So I want you today to think about where you actually are and be present with being there, right? Being fully in the middle of the presence of your dreams right now, no matter where you are. Okay, so we're entrepreneurs, not only in our work, but also in our own lives, right? We're creating our lives as we go forward. And thinking about all this chaos and shifts in your life, and when you're in the thick of it, and also in the river of misery, that is that inevitable way of getting there. Okay, so first, let's look at the 4 elements. This is a concept that I use in all my teaching, and I encourage you to think about metaphors that work for you in your life, whether it's stairways or passageways or gateways or paths and stair steps really work for me. The elements also are really important to me. So we have the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Of course, they're not like on the elemental table of chemistry, right? But these are sort of these broad ideas. And in different cultures have different number of elements. In China, there's 5. They talk about wood and metal. But right now, I'm just going to talk about sort of the Platonic 4 air elements. And to me, this idea of the elements, where fire is the spirit and the creativity, air is the mind and how we think through things, water is the emotions and also the systems of how things flow, and earth is the body and the physical world around us. So sometimes we feel, out of connection or out of, we don't have a feeling like we have a feeling of separation from all of these elements. So when we're talking about self-care, the question that comes up for me is how to connect with these elements and with our deepest selves. So first, I want you to think about the most basic ways that we do connect with elements and the ways that we find joy and relaxation and find ways to be calm and centered with those feelings that we crave. So first, I'd like to start with a super simple, short breathing meditation. And I'm just going to lead you through this. If you feel like it, if not, you don't have to. You can just watch. But first, I'd love everyone to engage with closing your eyes and just taking a deep breath of air, a few deep breaths. To notice what is happening in your body. A sense of fullness, a sense of letting go, a sense of tension release, and even maybe lightheadedness, or even anxiety, wanting to move your body, feeling the air fill your lungs. The air is your mind and your thoughts, metaphorically. Okay, moving on to fire. Still with your eyes closed, imagine a fire pit. Either you're in a garden or at the beach, and you have friends sitting around the fire, and it's like sunset into twilight. What is everyone doing? They're staring into the flames. We do this naturally. And why do we do this? It's like a zone, the hypnotism. It's like it calms us as humans. The fire is creativity. It's that spirit that we long to connect with. It's this vital energy. Next is the water. Okay, in your meditation, still with your eyes closed, think about standing up next to that fire, the warmth there, and just briefly walking to the ocean or the lake or a pond that's right there next to you. And walk into the water or dive into it and think about how it feels. It can feel cool or stimulating, cold, dark, or light, and just float there for a minute. Just let that water flow around you. Water is flow. It's how things move through your life metaphorically and your business. It's emotions, it's time, it's money, it's people, it's systems, it's how things flow. Okay. And finally, as you float on the water and look up at the stars now, just stand up and walk out of the water. Walk on the beach. Walk out into the woods or into the garden. And you're barefoot, so you can feel the earth under your feet. Feel grounded and safe. Earth is the body. Earth is the world, the physical surroundings, your job, your money, your house, your clothing. Just take a deep breath and let it be. And take another breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, air is mind and fire is spirit. Water is emotions and systems and flow. And earth is the body and the physical world. If we're not connected, if we're tired or out of balance, and all of these things, we can feel the anxiety of just like lacking this balance. We need self-care to really help us find that connection. And it can be as easy as taking that breath, finding a place where you can have some fresh air, finding a place where you can stare at a flame or at a, this is one reason I think we like television or we like movies. Sometimes it's just that zoning out, right? That feeling of staring into the flame. Okay, so this idea of using the elements in your business is also something that's one of my most basic trainings, that the creator in us is the flame. The leader is the air, the mind, how we lead ourselves and how we like just bring vision to the whole thing. The water is the operator, like how we create systems in our businesses. And then the promoter is like how we take our message and our story of our products or whatever we offer out into the world. Okay, so that was our 4 elements. Next, 3 steps. So it's wonderful to be aware of the elements and connected, but awareness doesn't always lead to action. And I want to create a couple of ideas that really kind of blew my mind when I learned them. And you may all know this, but as humans, we only ever do things for 3 reasons. This is the motivational triad. We do things to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, or to conserve energy. So as we have our businesses, you know, our body wants to be resting all the time and conserving energy. Our brain wants to keep things as it is. But of course, we also have all these ideas and our brain wants to innovate. So there's kind of a contrast between these 2 things. And often we have to get over that fence, past the blocks. We want to just, you know, when we want to just like watch Netflix and eat ice cream, and that's my favorite like buffering thing to do. But that's not real rest all the time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just what we need. But sometimes we need to, you know, find self-care that's less buffering and more productive. Okay. So I feel like there are kind of 2 elements of good mental health for me, and I found for my clients is 1, a creative outlet, and 2, a plan. So I've kind of combined these things into these 3 steps that I talked to you about. 1 is creating an atmosphere, 2 is making decisions, and 3 is walking your path. So first, creating an atmosphere, this idea of creating an atmosphere in your mind, in your home and your surroundings, in your business and in your community. And this is not really about controlling things, but it's more about finding love and compassion for yourself and for others and creating personal ritual. So I want to share one personal ritual with you that has really basically created my business. And this has been a game changer for me. Okay, let's see. And I would love for you to share in the chat if you have a personal ritual that you use. Okay. And just type it here, whether, whatever it is. And this is also if I can see that like people are, understanding kind of where we're going here. So personal ritual, here's mine. Let me see. I'm going to move back one. Okay. So in the morning, I have created this little shrine, and I love to sit in front of my shrine and I write in my journal. And I just put all my little things, my shells and my stones and just all the little things that I love here in my shrine. So this isn't a closet. If you can see here, this is just a closet. I don't close it with the candles burning, of course, but it's just a really easy way for me. It's not even a big closet. It's just a tiny one. To have this personal, ritual every morning. And here I meditate, or I just write in my journal. I do my tarot cards, and it's really helpful to me. Okay, I love these, what people are saying about personal ritual, swimming, the whole process of the shower, the floating, soaking. I love it. That's a wonderful way to use the elements, the meditation of wanting to just luxuriate in the water. That's beautiful. And Bo says, I like to take long, slow walks with my dog, looking at gardens. Oh, love that. Houses, and just admiring the beauty around me. Thank you. Thank you for those. Okay. So you can see in my shrine over here, the four blocks. I have the 4 elements in my shrine. So up here is Prince, and the purple one. I think of air as purple. So I use this matchbox that I got at the Prince Museum in Minneapolis, visiting my friend. And, he's one of my muses. He gives me advice. And then over here, I have a dragon that I'm Year of the Dragon. So I have, the flame of creativity over here, and that's fire. I put air and fire on the top because they rise. And then over here is earth and the water, and water and earth always float down or go down. So that is kind of what helps me collect natural objects on my walks and display them in the home or yard. So good. So good. And every evening swims must be magical. That is so true. Okay, so next. So one is create an atmosphere in your mind where you can feel pleasure, where you can feel this desire to have pleasure. And it helps us avoid pain, but that's not in a bad way, right? We want to feel pleasure in our lives. Okay, number 2, the Empress mentality. And it was great because I was thinking about this morning, and the first card that came up when I opened my deck was the Empress. And the Empress mentality is being in touch with yourself. You know what your life needs, right? You care and nurture others. And then you get to decide, and you get to commit to what works for you. You don't have to commit to everything. You don't have to do too much. So I like to think of things in terms of baby steps and breakthroughs. I call the crop rotation all the things that I do. So I may want to do yoga and meditation and sit with my journal and read, but I can't do everything, right? So one morning I'll do yoga, one morning I'll do my journal, or one evening, whenever it works. But I call it crop rotation, right? We need to let some things rest so a field can lie fallow, and then you do it again. So maybe I'll do my journal only twice a week. Maybe I'll do yoga once a week, depending on the time and what is happening in my life. And because of that, no shame in this game, right? Just have fun and just do it the way that you feel works for you. Okay, so one of my clients decided to create an atmosphere in her life was this thought, I take exquisite care of myself. And for her, that meant really like health things and exercise and different things that she set up in her crop rotation. For me, this idea of sanity and self-care always starts on Sunday with my time machine. So I call my schedule making process my time machine. And what I do is on Sundays, I just create a piece of paper that says past, present, future. I put on the past, the things that I didn't do last week. And then I redecide whether I want to do them again or not. If I don't, I just cross them off my list and I can decide that. Then my middle is the to-do list, right? All those big things that I need to do during the week. And then also I think to the future and think, okay, here are a few things that are really important for me to do looking forward. And then I put those things on my calendar, and then I tear that piece of paper up, and it's so satisfying. Just like once I put them all on my calendar, they have a time slot, I just tear it up and it feels really good. So with this motivational triad, to seek pleasure, I try to create an atmosphere. To avoid pain, I make decisions and I trust myself that I'm going to stick to them. Now, often that doesn't work, right? Often things fall by the wayside. But I know that overall, I'm trying to have this attitude of doing less, keeping things very simple, and making decisions about what works for me. And then, of course, conserve energy. And that just means baby steps, walking the path, not taking too much at a time on in my life. And sometimes we just have to say no and let things go. Okay, 2 tools. I would love to offer you these 2 tools that have really kind of changed my life. The first one is Brooke Castillo's model. It's the self-coaching model. If you haven't heard the Life Coach School podcast, I would highly recommend it. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay, you can just look that up. And it is, I'm a certified life coach through the Life Coach School. It has really been wonderful. And then the second tool is one that I made up called the Serious Fun Scale. Okay, so the model is this. It is a tool that you can use to get to know yourself and to help yourself work through any issue, and also to feel better about whatever you're going through, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Okay, so C is circumstances, T is thoughts, F is feelings, A is actions, and R is results. A circumstance is a fact that we can all agree upon in a court of law. Often circumstances trigger thoughts. Our thoughts are often very judgmental or very, biased, or very, maybe even overly optimistic about something. Our thoughts reflect on the circumstances, but our thoughts are often our story, right? Not necessarily true, but just our take on everything. And our thoughts trigger our feelings. Then our feelings drive all our actions, and our actions create a result. Okay, so here's a sample model. In business, I have a business, that's a fact. And I can't handle it all. That's my thought about the circumstance. So when I think the thought, I can't handle it all, I feel fear, I feel overwhelmed. And so my actions that are driven by that are to half-ass stuff, to shut down emotionally. And therefore, what I'm doing is I'm creating a business that I can't handle. So you can see how these 2 are connected. Okay, so let's work on maybe how we can improve that, or at least understand it better. So say I have a possible thought about my business, that it's possible to work calmly. It's possible to take great care of myself, even though I might not believe it yet. And even that thought that it's possible to work calmly and joyfully lets me experience the element of air, right? It helps me to create some space around this idea. It helps me to have some relief and be a little calmer. And therefore, it drives my actions of sleeping better, creating a schedule that's better, trying to do my crop rotation, and to lower my shame factor to myself, to have more fun, and to learn to trust myself. And so therefore, we have the possibility that I'm creating a business that I can handle. Okay, so this tool, I'm just giving you a taste of it, but it can be used in a lot of different ways. All right. The serious fun scale. This is just a grid. Okay, so on one side on the bottom is serious, serious to fun. Some things are serious and some things to fun. It's kind of our fun. It's kind of a continuum. And then this way is the y-axis, uncomfortable things, discomfort to comfort. And you've heard the more uncomfortable we can feel, the more growth we can make. Well, I want to kind of break this down for you right now. Okay, so comfort and fun. For me, Netflix and ice cream. That's complete comfort, complete fun. And sometimes though, that, helps us like just shut down. We're not like doing all the things we know that we want to do. Okay, and then in the serious and uncomfortable part is death and taxes, right? It's all the things that we really don't like doing. In the other areas, in serious but comfortable, can be our workday rituals and routines that we do because we know we have to. It's serious, but it's also comfortable. It may not be fun, but it's just things we do. And then the next part is our creative projects. So it's interesting that in this zone, we have fun creative projects, but notice how it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable, but we don't care because we are learning something new. We want to do something great and new and explore something. So this is kind of a great zone to be in, where we're having fun, but we're okay with the discomfort because we want to grow. Okay, so sometimes it can feel like this, that, we have in the fun zone, we have time off and play and self-care and the work that we love and our friends. And then sometimes it can feel like this zone is huge, right? And the fun and comfort zone is tiny. We don't get to do that as much as we like. But this area, this growth and self-care area, if we can kind of grow that a little bit, it's helpful. So we think about it in terms of finding balance with all four, right? We don't want to have buffering and just fun all the time. And we don't want to have, ugh and like death and taxes all the time, all of the hard stuff. So what I suggest is just trying to think about it in terms of this. How can I make the balance more about learning how to bring fun to some of the serious things, and also realizing that sometimes we do have to do uncomfortable things and just get through them. Sometimes that's the what we need to do in our businesses and our lives, but know that that's okay, right? That's the step that's going to take us to the next goal. Okay, so I want to leave you then with one thought, and that is creativity creates abundance. So you can find the place of self-care if you take that empire mentality, the empress mentality, and decide that your business is kind of your own little empire. You can decide how things work and to decide to take great care of yourself. No one else gets to decide this. Create that atmosphere of beauty and love in yourself, in your mind, and then you can move it outward. Make decisions to decide to take great care of yourself and set boundaries, take baby steps to go slow, but then you get to the breakthroughs. And then daily walk that path that you've decided upon, not others pulling you every which way. And I know that this is sometimes difficult to do, but I really know that the little we move towards this, the more confident we will feel in doing it. So today I've talked about the 4 elements, the 3 steps of create an atmosphere, make decisions, and walk the path, the 2 tools. So here are elements: air, fire, earth, and water. The motivational triad with the 3 steps. And then the self-coaching model, thinking about circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. balancing your serious and your fun, and our thought, creativity creates abundance. So I just want to thank everybody and open this up for Q&A. My list is at shannonborg.com/thecrux. That's my newsletter. And I send out my podcast, and I send out, little tips and ideas about how to enjoy your business and how to create a business that you love as much as you love your art or your passion. So I would love to open it up to everyone for questions.
So if no one has any questions right now, we can have Miriam get started. But if you do have any questions that come up, go ahead and put them in the chat or raise your hand if you want to ask your question aloud.
Sure. Yeah, this is Miriam, and I'm so grateful for this presentation. It comes at a good time, I think, for all of us. And I want to be very cognizant that if other folks have questions, I want to make time for them. But I do have a couple of questions for Shannon. So I really appreciated the kind of structure of how you've kind of walked us through this. Could you talk a little bit about, the process of kind of dealing with overwhelm, which I think can kind of come up regularly for all small businesses. So do you, I'm sure you've had a lot of experience with kind of walking that path with others. Can you talk about that a little bit, Shannon?
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, I have to say that, like I said, this has been such a long and winding road of mental health for me. I'm sober now, but for 7 years, but I had a very chaotic time in my life where I just was overwhelmed by anxiety, overwhelmed by work. And I always felt like I had to work really hard for other people because I needed the money, right? I didn't have a choice. And of course, that's true. I lived in cities that were expensive, and, I had to sort of find the next thing to make my life keep moving forward and not be chaotic. And at the same time, I really buffered with going out and partying and alcohol and all those fun things, because I was like at the swing of what I was talking about with this, anxiety and buffering, right? And so when I realized that that was not helping me, and I shifted my life really towards focusing on what I needed and not what I needed to kind of keep the wheels on the cart, right? But really go back into what I wanted to do with my life and what I really cared about. That helped me create this everyday morning practice of sitting at my shrine. And I tell you, this is what saved my life, like kind of literally. But then going forward, it just helps me have a place to get grounded. It helps me have a place where I can, no matter what's going on in the world, have a place to be centered and know that I'm attempting to take care of myself and really keeping things simple, and knowing that the world will keep spinning without, me doing everything on my to-do list. And so slowly, do less was really a mantra of mine for a while. Every morning, doing my little things, my journals, figuring out what I wanted, do less, and just trying to keep it simple. I ended up creating a business, focusing on how the artists that needed help, and really creating small steps. And slowly it has grown over the past 3 years. And now I have clients and I'm doing more and helping more people. So I guess that's the long answer.
No, that's awesome. I so appreciate, sometimes I think as small business women, we feel that we need to kind of hold back on the personal details about our own life and our own journey. And I really appreciate you being so open and just sharing. That I think is super valuable for all of us to hear. Would you say that, kind of in creating rituals of our own, is there a process you could describe? I mean, I have understood, much of what you have said in the presentation, but like just finding your own ritual, I guess some of us have a clear idea, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Sure. And in fact, let me hold on just a second because I want to show you something. I think in giving myself, and this is really interesting because I didn't necessarily think that this is how this would go, but like I'm more than willing to share it. In giving myself that time every morning, and I know I don't have kids, okay, and I don't have a partner right now, but even if you do, and you can still like find that 10 minutes or whatever, even if you have to get up earlier than everybody or go to bed later or whatever, that time really helped me. And what I did was I was Target or Ross. I found these little set of like oils, essential oils, and they were just at the, I have 7 of them. So they're like root chakra and, all the chakras. And I have to say, I'm not like I don't know, all of that, although like I've just slowly been like educating myself around all of these different world, ways of staying calm, or like Zen Buddhism, etc. But what I did was I created my own little ritual and kind of sayings. So when I meditate, I have the root chakra and I take a little bit here and I smell it and I put my arms down and I say rooted to earth. And then the next one, it's a different aroma and I say connected to self, and that's just down here. Or I touch my arms, the next one is the sacral, I believe, and that's in the middle, and that's willing to move. And then the next one is open to love. And the next one is ready to listen, ready to speak, ready to listen, ready to speak. And that's the throat chakra. Then willing or open to insight. And then the crown is, I have to look because the crown is, aligned with the one. And I think of the one as just the universe. So I mean, I just created this myself out of my little book by my shrine. And I just started writing it down,
Cool.
Rooted to earth, connected to self, and so on. And it just happened. It just happened I was like, I want to feel connected, and I want to feel rooted to the earth, so it literally just like over a couple of years, these little things kind of came up and happened. And now I just have all these little things that I do for myself. I made them up, out of my creativity. And that's why creativity, I feel like we often think, I'm going to look to what this person does or what this person does, and then follow them because I don't know. But the thing is, you really do know, and this is one thing that life coaching has really helped me with. My coach trainer often says, when people ask a question, it's like, if you did know the answer, what would it be?
That's great.
It's great because we often do know the answer. We just, don't want to admit it to ourselves that that's the real answer. Or we're so used to feeling confused. We're so used to feeling like, everybody else knows more than me, that we just don't do it. And so when you really listen to yourself and say, if I did know the answer, what would it be? And, this isn't an answer. It's just one little step in my own creativity. So I made it up like when I was a kid and we made stuff up. And that's what we're doing every day. We're making our lives up. So that's one answer.
That's super, super helpful. Oh gosh. Yeah, and I love this comment in the chat.
Tips for folks with kids. I run pretty fast all day to keep up. I would like to do a more mindful approach for the kids. Yeah, I have an edited life down to the essentials out of necessity, but finding personal time is still hard. I totally know. I mean, okay, I'm one of 7 children and I have no children. And maybe this is the reason my poor mother, like had her 7 children. But one thing that I notice, and this is no judgment on anybody, but my mother ignored us a lot. She really did. And she had her own time. She stayed up late and she did crossword puzzles after everybody else was to bed, and she read her book, or she got up early and we were not allowed to enter, her room until she was ready to come out. And so like she had these little rules and we just went by them, right? She was the empress and it was all love and everything. And now I look back and I go, my mom like really knew how to like keep the 7 kids at bay. Now, I do not show any like way of like giving advice to anyone with kids since I don't have kids, right? I just want to say that. But I think when you say, tips for folks with kids, if you did know the answer to that, what would it be? And so think about that and think about your best tips and ask your kids. Maybe they would help you because they want the best for you too, right? Okay, kids, like if you were to help mom have some special me time, what would your ideas for that be? And maybe they would have some like great fun rituals that you guys could make together and do together. I don't know, but I'm just offering that as a possibility. The Empress needs her boundaries. Yep. She sure does.
We all need our boundaries, but absolutely. Yeah, I love that Empress tarot card. I'm not super familiar with tarot, but I love that.
She's the nature, she's the nurturer, and we all kind of like as women have that natural. I don't want to say that like that's not, natural. I think men nurture too. Men are nurturers as well, and humans are, right? So we can tap into that nurturing side of ourselves with these personal ritual ideas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually have one more question for you, and I also want to be really careful watching the chat, but so just curious, in your work, can you kind of describe the array of types of businesses you work with? Is it primarily visual artists, writers? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, as I was starting my business, we have this dream of, okay, what this business is going to look like. I have great artists that are having gallery shows and they're learning how to, I'm helping them learn how to tap into their deepest self and create this creative process and create a business and a website and all these things. Of course, it doesn't always look like that, right? My first jobs were helping my friend build a website, and she had no tech abilities and I was just learning. And so we were like clunking through it together. But now as we go, the main thing about it, and I want to give this example because she had no tech abilities. I was just like 2 steps ahead of her. She's an animal activist and she draws cats and dogs, and she often says like, oh, I just draw cats, right? But what I wanted to do was give her the mindset also with the website of your work with animals and the compassion that you have with animals drives your animal activism, and the simple, beautiful, whimsical pictures that you make of animals, of cats and dogs, help people to bring more compassion to animals. So that messaging around both of our inability to know what a business was or know how to run a business helped drive that emotion, right? Our feelings drive all our actions. That feeling of wanting to help animals then helped her create a website where she can put her classes and her animal activism work and her simple, beautiful, whimsical art on there. So I guess to answer your question, I work with a lot of different kinds of businesses, and I can work with any business. large or small, creative or not creative, just product based. But, I have this vision of working with artists, but that's okay. It's like, I'm open. That's my niche. And we often say that it's like, what's your niche? Well, my niche is artists and creative artists, but I also work with creative entrepreneurs, and the circle gets bigger when someone comes to me and wants to do something else. Like right now I'm working with a food producer. So yes, that's a creative business, right? So it can expand from there.
Yeah, and I guess in some sense, we're all creative businesses, but
Oh,
it's not
yes.
necessarily in that
Yeah.
field. I see there's a cool comment from Rachel in the chat as well. I find that when I am in a moment of stressful situation or a challenge, if I stop and do something creative, it calms me down. What about you?
Yes, Rachel. So true. And I would love to hear, maybe what one of your creative things are that you do. But yes, I mean, think about when we were kids. I always move everything back to when I was a kid, when we played by ourselves, or we were under some pressure, just like coloring or something was like always helped to calm us down. So one thing that I do with my clients, my program has kind of like 3 parts, right? The create an atmosphere, make decisions, and walk the path. But the first kind of section is called awareness. And my program is 6 weeks of coaching, one-on-one coaching on kind of whatever you want, but also I have trainings that kind of lead you through some of these things. So the 4 hats of artists in business, or any business, that's one training. And another one, I do these assessments, and there's an assessment. I do the Enneagram, and I kind of talk to you about the Enneagram and the archetypes. So you can kind of tell where you are in your hero's journey, and where you want to go. And then also I work with a test called the Kolbe, Kolbe. I'll put that in the chat. Kolbe.com. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Kathy Kolbe, her father was a sociologist and she's a sociologist, and he did kind of this almost like a Myers-Briggs type test, and she saw something was missing when she was seeing kids and like how they were working. And so kids would be like coloring or working she was studying them, and they would be like, oh, I need all my crayons here. I need all the crayons separated out. Like I need the blue crayons here and the red crayons here. Or another kid didn't care at all, right? They would just dive in. Or another kid would be like, I have to work in a group. Or other kids have to work by myself. So she created this test called the Kolbe A index. And it's like 36 questions. What it does is assesses how you work when you're striving. And even though this test is for corporate, I saw it just like, oh my gosh, this is artists. This is creative people, because this is when we're in the zone, right? This is how we work when we're in the zone. And so she kind of separates it into 4 sections: how we deal with information, how we deal with systems, how we deal with risk, and how we deal with tangibles. And the ironic part is that I saw each one of those as the elements. Information is air, systems is flow and water, like how things flow in our business. Risk is fire, how we get excited about things. And tangibles is earth, like how the real world is around us. So when I get people's Kolbe scores, I talk to them about like, how much information do they need? Do they need lots of information, or are they what we call a bottom liner? Like, just give me the bottom line. As far as systems go, do I like all the same systems all the time? Or do I like to always make a new system every time? Am I like an innovator? In risk, do I dive into projects, or do I really need a lot of information before, and I'm slow? I need a lot of safety before, not necessarily information, but safety. Do I need to kind of take things slow? And then tangibles, can I envision the future? Can I envision that wall with like red on it and I know just the color of red? Or do I need to paint like 5 different splotches on it, swatches, before I can decide? right? So this test actually brings out some of these ideas that you were talking about with kids and how they work, and then we grow up into bigger kids, like how do we work? And if we know that, we have more self-awareness, it helps us in our businesses.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Oh, and Jessica's comment, this is cool. Maybe the crop rotation part can be part of the child years, and those are the years that the fields are under a cover crop.
Oh my gosh.
LOL,
Like, the heavens have parted. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And that's, this is also how to deal with anything that you just don't like to deal with, right? I worked in a job that I hated for several years until I figured out that I could make the decision, and this is the make decisions part. I could decide to love this job for different reasons than they wanted me to, right? The reasons I loved the job were I was learning new things, I was saving money. And those two things helped me love my job, even though I was planning on getting out of it, right? It helped me be in that fallow crop rotation time in my life where I could say, I'm going to love these two things about my job. For the next year, I'm setting goals and I'm making those financial goals and I'm making these goals so I can get out of this job, right? So we've all had those times in our lives where this is just a great idea of like, yeah, the kids' years, gosh, you're loving it for different reasons, right? You're loving it because you get to watch your kids grow up and you get to play with them and you get to learn hard things and all the things that you do when you're having kids. But you have your own reasons and you can decide what your reasons are, that you love it, that you do things, that you don't do things, that you let things go, like my mom, she was just like, she was always anxious for a while about like how dirty the house was or whatever. And finally, I think she just had a moment where she was like, my house is dirty. That's fine. That is just fine. The world is not going to end, and so when you can kind of just come to terms with those things and say, my house will be, clean on Sunday for Sunday dinner. That's the only time it's clean all week. That's okay. Anyway, the crop rotation.
Totally love that. So I want to be conscious of our time, of course, but I do have one more last question for you, which is, so often as business owners, we go from, sort of awareness, we kind of aware something's bothering us, or we go immediately into action. And we often do not go through kind of what you described as, I love that, the circumstance, thought, feeling, the action, and the result. We're just like, skip the analysis of everything else and the understanding of everything else. And we're like, I better run out and start doing XYZ. And of course, that's part of why we coach here, but I'm wondering what else you would have to say about that.
Well, I think that's just such a great insight that often, we don't realize. I know I didn't realize I was doing that. I was just like, gotta make money, gotta have a job, gotta do this, gotta do that, right? That's gonna save me. But all the while, my thought, and this is where the thought work really pays off. When you can sit for 10 minutes or on the bus or talk into when you're driving or whatever into your phone and record some of this stuff, the thoughts about, I'm hustling, my life is chaos, right? I was having the thought, my life is chaos in that T line. And so therefore I was feeling overwhelmed. Therefore I was doing all the things, right? Overachieving and just doing everything and trying to control everything and all of that. And so therefore creating the result of everything is chaos, which directly connected to my thought. That's how our thoughts create our feelings. But if I can stop and slow down and just say, it's possible that my life can be calm, it's possible that, and this is what we call bridge thoughts, right? And so here's a good example. If we're trying to, like, if we have, and I've had this so I'm going to use my own example. Okay. Body issues, right? I want to lose weight. I hate my body, right? So we have one thought, I hate my body. We have another dream thought, I love my body, but I don't really believe it yet. And Brooke talks about this in her podcast. She calls the bridge thought, how about this? I have a body, right? I have a body, and I have a body that works, that gets me from place A to place B. You know, you can use these baby steps to get to the breakthrough. And so believing and understanding what thoughts are back there, like one of my thoughts that was really holding me back was, I can't find it. I'm always looking for it. Where is it? Where is my dream life? Right? I can't find it. That thought, I can't find it, was keeping me from finding it. Right? And so when I can have the thought, it's possible for me to find it, or it's right here, I've already found it, then that creates the feeling of like, whew, relief. I don't have to look for it anymore. Yes, the power of affirmations, right? And sometimes these affirmations, you know, they don't need to have to be dream pie in the sky things. They can be where you are right now. You know, I have a body. And then you start to realize like how beautiful and wonderful that is. Wow, I have these hands that work and a brain that works. And, you know, even if it all doesn't work, there's probably certain parts of it that do work. So that's one thing to do, is just sort of like meet yourself where you are and be okay with that.
Well, this has been incredibly helpful. I just want to be sure if, oh yeah, great. Jessica's coming. That's a great way to think of our small businesses too, to bring joy to what we're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. So important.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have any thoughts or suggestions, questions that you want to kind of insights? Fabulous. Thanks. Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate it. You know, and this is such a new learning experience for me to sort of reach out beyond my little island, you know, to try to do things. I've had local clients, and this is one question that a lot of my clients have. It's like, how do I find clients in our businesses? And one of my coaches really gave the best advice. She has her 3 steps are: meet as many people as possible, tell them what you do, and make offers to help them. And so this is one of my attempts to meet as many people as possible and tell them what I do and make offers to help. So anyway, I just want to gratefully thank you for allowing me to do this. Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Bo.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap up a little early. This has been recorded, so I'll send it out with our follow-up email this afternoon. And I'll also send the information for Celebrating Dreams next week. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Shannon.
Thank you,
Thanks so much,
Shannon.
everybody.
Amazing.